The purpose of this video is to have the background essay read to you from the DBQ, What Made Cesar Chavez an Effective Leader? The overview is important as well. For decades, the farm workers of California had worked without unions and without a living wage. Chicanos, Dust Bowlers, Filipinos, and a growing number of immigrants from Mexico thinned the lettuce, tended the grapes, and picked the peaches that kept the rest of America well fed. Many attempts were made to organize these farm workers into a union, but all had failed. When Cesar Chavez arrived in the early 1960s, he was told it couldn't be done. Chavez was to prove them wrong. This mini-Q asks what made Cesar Chavez such an effective leader. What made Cesar Chavez an effective leader? Cesar Chavez was born in Yuma, Arizona in 1927 on his grandfather's farm. One of 5 children, Cesar's childhood was happy, but drought and the Great Depression forced the family to leave. They crammed into their old Studebaker and headed for California. The year was 1938. The family had $40 to its name. The Chavezes were not alone. Tens of thousands of other migrants sought work, any kind of work, in the fruit and vegetable fields of California's Great Valleys. Many of these migrants were refugees from the Dust Bowl back east. A large number were Chicanos, Americans like the Chavez family, with strong Mexican roots. During their first 10 years in California, the family tended and picked whatever the valley had to offer. Living in tents or shacks, they moved with the seasons. Cesar shuddered between the fields and the classroom. By the time he dropped out at the end of the 8th grade, he had attended 36 different schools. After a stint in the Navy and more than 10 years in community service work, Cesar Chavez returned to the fruit and vegetable fields. He had decided to do what no one had been able to do before, to organize the farm workers of California. It would not be easy. As one California governor said, the farm workers do not have the power. The growers do. The growers have the lawyers, they belong to golf clubs, and they talk to editors of newspapers. This is power. History was also not on Chavez's side. Many attempts had been made over the decades to organize farm workers, and all had failed. Cesar was determined to change this. From 1962 until his death in 1993, Cesar Chavez worked tirelessly to create and then maintain a union for farm workers. The union was called the United Farm Workers of America, UFW. Many of Cesar's tactics were classic, organizing worker strikes so that a grower couldn't harvest his strawberries, picketing outside the gates of a lettuce farm to help strike breakers from taking over jobs in the fields, conducting long marches to build union support, organizing boycotts so that consumers couldn't buy table grapes. In this effort, Chavez and the farm workers attracted worldwide press. He was even on the cover of Time magazine. While winning the praise of many, Cesar drew the criticism of others. Neither Presidents Richard Nixon nor Ronald Reagan were fond of Chavez, and there were members of his own board who left because of very low pay. In his entire life, Cesar never owned his own home and seldom earned more than $6,000 a year. Cesar asked a lot from himself and the people around him. Perhaps Cesar Chavez's greatest success came in 1975. The California state legislature passed a law which gave the United Farm Workers the right to form a union and the right to collective bargaining. It was a huge achievement. This mini-Q asks why Cesar succeeded where others before him had failed. Beyond the strikes and the picket lines, beyond the marches and the boycotts, why did 40,000 mourners attend Cesar's funeral in 1993? Examine the documents that follow and answer the question, what made Cesar Chavez an effective leader?